Oh my God, one of the big two finally did it. They were finally not afraid to celebrate their comic history. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So, DC recently put out this really great video on their YouTube channel called Inside the DC Comics Archives Vault, where they actually did a little bit of a tour talking about some of the rich, amazing collectibles that they have been able to acquire and keep in their vault over their 100-year history. And this is a video that they put together to kind of celebrate that with Mark Waid and them coming back to New York Comic Con. And I thought it'd be kind of fun, as someone here who is a big fan of vintage collectibles, to actually watch this video with you guys and do a little bit of a reaction. I mean, I've talked about on the channel many times before about how I don't understand why the big two don't consistently hammer the history of their comic books. Because if they did do that, that's really crucial in getting the young generation to understand the importance of the published medium and get them on board into wanting to collect comic books themselves. Seems pretty obvious. This is something that every single IP marketing division talks about time and time again, and yet these two never did it. But finally, we're getting a piece of content out of that. And in this video, we're going to react to it. But before I get into it, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, I appreciate it. Helps support the channel doing those things. But let us get into this video here today.
Hi, I'm Mark Waid, DC's unofficial historian. I'm here today to talk about DC's March to 100 initiative with their official historian, Benjamin LeClaire. Benjamin?
Hi, everybody. Yes, DC...
Official historian Benjamin LeClaire. I made mention in my comic book collector decision matrix, where if you're a historian, you actually have to be working for the big two. And it's good to know that Benjamin is actually doing that.
We're 90 years old this year with the anniversary of the release of our very first comic, New Fun #1. So on this March to 100, we're going to be celebrating every decade of DC history. And we're going to start really with our most important decade where we created superheroes and the golden age of comics.
So to
The golden age of comics. The best age of comics.
do that, we're going to go into the DC archives, the secret DC cave, and we're going to take a look at some of the hidden treasures there that celebrate the first decade of DC's history.
This way. Here we are.
It's like my home away from home.
I think this was your home at one point.
It was my home.
Oh, dude, look at that. It's original art page from Action Comics number 474. Now, I don't happen to know who drew that page. Write in the comments down below if you do know. But what's really cool about this is to think about some of the art pieces that DC still has in their vault. A lot of the original art collecting is always like, oh, I wonder where this page is. Does the artist still own it? Do collectors have it? Was it destroyed? Was it lost? But there's also that element of what is inside DC's coffers? What is in their Indiana Jones warehouse? And what kind of treasures could there be there? Certainly, they have one right here.
At one point, I was the librarian here in the late 80s. Just the smell,
The smell of the wood.
Respect to them for shouting out the smell. It is always about the smell.
Here are still these.
These bound editions carry everything from 1935 all the way to present day, right?
And what's great about that is that the old masters and the new masters are side by side. So your work is here with Jerry Siegel. They're all there as part of a...
That's pretty cool. I mean, it is funny because we haven't done many videos about bound volumes on the YouTube channel, but occasionally you'll get the bound volumes that go up for auction at the Heritages or Comic Connects or Comic Links and things like that. And they tend to do pretty well. I mean, typically what you would do if you're interested in figuring out what a bound volume would cost, you have to just sort of understand that if you were to take the bound volume apart and individualize each issue that's actually in it, you would probably grade them out to get a 0.5, because they would technically be spine splits or whatever the case is. But then if you just take the 0.5 values and add them all together, let's say you had, an Action Comics run from, number 1 through, number 1 would be ridiculously expensive, but number 100 through 200 or whatever the case is, and then you kind of individualize all the 0.5s of that entire bound volume, then you can pretty much get your price of what it would actually sell for. And typically it goes around a similar value.
Continuous story and lineage.
That's just it. The whole lineage of DC Comics is in this room.
Since we're going to New York Comic Con again as DC for the first time in several years,
yes,
I think everyone in Gotham City...
Let me just point that out for a second. They made this video because it's the first time they're going to New York Comic Con in several years. And I think by the time you guys are watching this, I myself will actually be at New York Comic Con, so hoping to hear, some big news coming out of DC. But it's crazy that this company would not have been at New York Comic Con for several years. I mean, it just kind of feels obvious that if you're Marvel or DC, you should be at New York and San Diego every single year with a big PR campaign, a big rollout, a lot of content coming on your YouTube channel, celebrating your history and your new titles to come. And a little bit of a sidebar, the reason that celebrating history is so important is the history is what keeps things relevant to pop culture. Like, how many times do you guys watch WWE or watch, the NFL or Major League Baseball or any of these like ongoing franchises or IPs or things that like continually put out product year after year? All of those places always celebrate history. Like WWE will always talk about Bruno Sammartino and Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and all the characters that came before the ones that are currently active. The NFL will talk about, John Madden and Joe Namath and the history of like, NFL championship teams and things like that, because, you bring in the older generation, you have them educate the newer generation, you keep the cycle going. And this is how you maintain a decade long, importance to your brand, to your IP, and what is effectively for Marvel and DC, like a love for the publishing medium itself.
You should be really proud to see a copy of the very first Son of Gotham.
That is amazing. Detective Comics number 27, the very first appearance of Batman.
Oh no. Wait, they got pages. It's coverless, guys. DC Comics, their vault copy of Tech 27 is a coverless copy. I mean, I understand it's very, very expensive, and hey, DC, it's tough times out there. Okay, tough times. I mean, Superman did really well, but I don't know if it did Tech 27 with a cover on it well. You know what I mean? So it's tough. I understand it's very, very expensive, but you would think that they would get a low grade copy. Hey, you know what? Idea, if you're a dealer out there and you got a Tech 27 right now, maybe you should hit up DC. Maybe they need a full copy for their vault. Still, cool to have a coverless copy. Regardless, this is still going to be a six-figure purchase, I think, right? Pretty sure.
The very first appearance of Batman in a 6-page story called The Case of the Chemical Syndicate.
Here's an early thing where Superman, the power and iconography is used for charitable purposes. Mm-hmm. There was a fire, I believe, in the Cleveland Hospital, is that right?
Yep.
And then we produced a special charity comic for it. The character Superman is so important that he transcends fiction.
This is the first appearance of the Cheetah, who is by far...
Dead spec. Nobody cares about this one anymore. Okay, after we got Wonder Woman, what was it, like 1984? And we had Kristen Wiig. Didn't she play the Cheetah? Still an amazing key to have. Still very, very expensive. But there was a time when people were more hyped about this one.
The predominant Wonder Woman villain, her arch nemesis. And this is from 1943?
That's correct.
These characters continue to thrive 90 years later, and that really speaks to the power.
Again, Showcase 4, first appearance of Barry Allen, The Flash, 1.5? I mean, DC, we got to get some higher grades. We got to get some higher grades up in your archives.
Of these early Golden Age DC characters.
Not only do superheroes exist because of what DC did, they continue to exist because DC never stopped publishing superheroes.
Okay,
That's right.
here we go. Okay, here we go. Back it up, back the train up. There's the goods. All right, let's check out what they got. Let's move this window over here. Okay, we got looks like a Tech 66. Is that what that is? Tech 66? That is actually the first appearance and origin of Two-Face. Really cool book that they have right there. They got the Flash. Can't remember the name of that. Put it down in the comments. I believe that's the first meeting of Barry Allen and the original Flash. You got Wiz Comics number 2, first appearance of Shazam right there. And then these other ones, it's like that game where it's like guess the cover. I can't quite make out what some of those other ones are in that one, but that's the file cabinet right there, guys. That's the one that I would love to see myself. And hey, DC, if you ever invited me to your archive, I would love to do it. I could do a whole tour of all your vintage comic books.
Superheroes.
That's right. Talk about this for a sec.
Okay.
All right, this was a Saturday Night Live sketch. Bill Murray as Superman, Dan Aykroyd as the Flash.
We have a photo from the day that Muhammad Ali came to the DC offices and read the giant-sized Superman versus Muhammad Ali for the first time. So we have another form of royalty.
That's actually pretty awesome.
So many people here at DC and around the world are DC fans because of Batman the Animated
Absolutely.
Series. This is signed by
Batman, the animated series, I got to say, probably made me a fan as well, cemented me as a fan. You know, I definitely saw the 1989 Tim Burton Batman. That's actually what got me, my dad, and my brother into comic books in the first place. But it was really the animated series after the fact that's when it was like, oh, I love Batman. Like, I am definitely a fan of this character. The cartoons do that. The cartoons did that for, my love of Spider-Man and X-Men as well. I mean, 90s were a great time for cartoons. And it's actually why I talk a lot about the video games, guys. You know, I always bring up Marvel Rivals and things like that because our cartoons are their video games now. That's the thing that's going to make them love the characters.
Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, who've made lasting contributions.
As the voices of Batman and the Joker, yes, this is beautiful stuff. Let's talk about this.
Oh, sure.
My favorite image of Superman.
The pictures I saw from the Golden Age, he is sitting there in this painting looking over
Saul Harrison and
Jerry
Jack Adler
Donenfeld,
and
the
Donenfeld, the entire DC crew of the 1940s. They're pictures of the DC editorial group and the publishing group of the 1940s.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
With the original.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
My predecessor brought it in. It was the very first thing he put up in the library in Burbank. When we moved here, I hand-delivered it and made sure it was the very first thing we put up here.
That's good.
It may be a copy, but it represents the lineage of...
It's a copy? No. Copies? No facsimiles. Okay? No copies, no lithographs, originals only. DC, vintage dealers. We got to start upselling to DC. Okay, we got to get that archive. You know what I mean? They got to be like heritage auctions over there. You know, they need more of the real good stuff. No, I'm just kidding. It's still pretty cool.
Superman that goes back for us from the very beginning.
Thank you very much for joining us on this tour of the DC Library and the DC Archives, part of DC's March to 100 initiative, where we're honoring each decade of DC publishing in the next 10 years going forward. I'm Mark Waid.
I'm Benjamin LeClaire. Mark, thank you so much for being here and all your contributions. Thank you all of you at home for continuing to read DC Comics, and for all of you at New York Comic Con, thank you for supporting comics in person.
Well, there it is. There you guys have it. Thank you, DC, for making a video celebrating DC Comics. Honestly, truthfully, like, this is mind-blowing to me. And actually, I misspoke at the beginning. Like, I think I said that it was like their 100-year history. They're obviously not 100 years yet. We talked about the public domain thing. But en route to 100, they're doing a 10-year celebration of the history of their publishing. Amazing. Amazing. Like, thank you that one publishing company finally did it. Why is Marvel not doing this? Who knows? But I can't emphasize enough, like, how important it is to, talk about the history and make branded pieces like this. Like, this is so cool. Like, these are the types of videos, and maybe, like, the kids don't really care that much or whatever, but, like, this content is important, showing the love and the passion and the creators and the history of it is important to get people to know how important comic books is. Start sending that video crew to comic book collectors who have collections of Batman and Superman. Start doing slice of life pieces of them, because the more you do that and the more you put a face to the passionate people behind the comic book collecting hobby, the more other people will say, maybe I should collect comic books too. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was me doing a little bit of reaction. A good video coming out of DC. I thought that this was really cool. I've been banging this war drum for a long time, thinking that, these two companies, the big two, got to make more of this type of stuff and got to celebrate the history of the comic books, maybe even more than just creating new stories, which creating new stories is important too, but collecting culture is also very, very important. Maybe you can invite me next time. Anyways, that's all for this one. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See you all in the next video.